Chapter 6496. Charlie smiled with satisfaction, then stepped on his chest with his foot, and said with a sneer, "I hope that after this time you can remember the truth. There will never be pie in the sky. Before you expect pie in the sky to fall for you, look in the mirror and see how you look. And then ask yourself a question: do you deserve it?" John could only nod his head repeatedly. Tears kept falling with the frequency of nodding, crying, and saying, "I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it." At this moment, he felt wronged and desperate in his heart. Just hoped that Charlie, the evil star, would leave quickly so that he could report to the Lord as soon as possible. Seeing that his goal had been achieved, Charlie smiled and said, "Don't forget what I told you to do. If I asked you to pass it on, you must pass it on. Otherwise, I will cut off your left hand next time." After that, Charlie ignored him and turned to leave. No one of the Tiger Guards who stayed here noticed Charlie's whereabouts. And no one knew that John had obviously lost too much blood at this time. And his face was as pale as paper. When Charlie cut off his right hand, he did not stop the bleeding, but left a small amount of spiritual energy in his body. That spiritual energy would save his life at a critical moment. But it would only save his life. When Charlie and Duncan met, Duncan could not help asking him, "Mr. Wade, did you really give the reshaping pill to John Woo?" Charlie nodded and smiled, "I did. This BA5 tar did not believe me at first and refused to eat it. I forced it into his mouth. When he saw his left hand growing out little by little, he immediately gave in." Duncan felt a pain in his flesh and could not help but sigh. "This bastard is really lucky." "Not really." Charlie smiled. After he ate the reshaping pill, his left hand grew out. "I chopped off his right hand." "Ah." Duncan exclaimed, You chopped off his right hand?" "Yes." Charlie smiled and said, "I don't know him, so I can't give him a pill for nothing. Didn't Victoria have someone cut off his left hand? I just let his left hand grow out and then cut off his right hand. I want to let her know that she can't beat me. If she is not convinced, she can give John another reshaping pill. And after his right hand grows out, I will cut off his left hand again. Otherwise, everyone who sees John will think that she lost to me in front of John's two hands. I just want to use John's grown left hand to slap her face." Duncan patted his forehead and said with emotion, "Mr. Wade, you really spent a lot of money to slap Victoria in the face." As he said that, he couldn't help but praise. "But this should be the most magical slap in the face I have ever heard of in my life. If it really gets out in the Warrior's Den, Victoria's prestige will be greatly affected. From this point of view, your pill is still worth it." 10 minutes later, Chavron rushed back from the city center. He finally bought a non-practical artificial hand for John. The artificial hand was made of silicone and could be put on the wrist. It could not grasp or hold anything. It is just like an artificial eye, just for aesthetics. At this time, John was about to faint and was extremely weak. Fortunately, when he lost too much blood, the wound on his wrist suddenly stopped bleeding, allowing him to breathe a sigh of relief. Just when he felt that the power that was restraining his vocal cords was gradually disappearing, he heard a knock on the door outside, and then heard Chavron outside saying, "Grand Commander, I'm back." John shouted hoarsely, "Commander-in-Chief Yuan, hurry! Save me!" When Chavron heard the cry for help from inside, he was so scared that he shuddered all over, and then kicked the door open and rushed in. At this time, the room was already filled with blood. Grand Commander John slumped on the ground, holding his right wrist with his left hand, his face full of pain. Chavron didn't see any signs of fighting inside. He just saw John holding a wrist covered in blood. He didn't react for a moment and asked subconsciously, "Grand Commander, what happened to you? Didn't the Great Elder take care of the wound on your wrist? Why is it bleeding again?" John cursed angrily, "Open your f***ing dog eyes and see which hand this is." Chavrin stood opposite John, with his left hand facing his right hand. So he said in a daze, "Isn't this the left hand?" "Grand Commander, what's going on with you?" John cursed, "Look carefully. This is the right hand. It's the right hand. Just now that mysterious man came and cut off my right hand. This? What on earth is going on? Am I dreaming?" Chavrin was stunned. After he distinguished John's left and right hands, countless questions suddenly surged in his mind. The biggest question was, before he left, his left hand was broken. But his right hand was fine. After he came back, he said that his right hand was cut off by a mysterious person. But wasn't his left hand cut off by the Great Elder before? How did it appear now? Could it be that he was dazzled? It's no wonder Chavrin was confused. If this happened to anyone else, they would probably feel the same way as him. That the world seemed to be crazy, so crazy that he couldn't tell whether it was a dream or reality. Seeing that he was still confused, John angrily scolded. "What are you still standing there for? Pull me up first. I want to report to the Lord immediately."